and welcome to the Narrowing Path, Walking the Spiritual Walk. My name is Steve Van Adderstein. Thank y'all for joining me again today as we go through and we do today's daily reading from James Allen's Daily Meditations. I'm looking forward to it. September's been interesting so far, so let's continue on with that. This, of course, will be fresh to you and fresh to me, meaning you'll get my genuine response, reactions, observations, and what I relate to about the reading, because this will be the first time that I hear it or read it right here on this podcast with you. So, here we go. This is September 4th reading from James Allen's Daily Meditations. All things, whether visible or invisible, are subservient to and within the scope of the infinite and eternal law of causation. Perfect justice upholds the universe. Perfect justice regulates human life and conduct. All the varying conditions of life as they obtain in the world today are the results of this law reacting on human conduct. Man can and does choose what causes he shall set in operation, but he cannot change the nature of effects. He can decide what thoughts he shall think and what deeds he shall do, but he has no power over the results of those thoughts and deeds. These are regulated by the overruling law. Man has all power to act, but his power ends with the act committed. The result of the act cannot be altered, annulled, or escaped. It is irrevocable. Evil thoughts and deeds produce conditions of suffering. Good thoughts and deeds determine conditions of blessedness. Well, I have to say that's a powerful one today, talking about personal accountability and also just, it kind of covered it on a grand scale and a personal scale, isn't it? That everything is the result of something. I mean, that sounds self-evident, but when you look at everything, you're wondering how your life got to where it is, or why you think the way you do, or you do the things you do. That's a result of something, right? That's an effect. And if you keep that in mind, you can start to unravel a couple of things about yourself, about other people, about the world we live in. It is an effect. What is the cause? And if you're willing to look at that, you can get some pretty good information. I love that. This is a great reading in a lot of ways. So let's get started with it. All things, whether visible or invisible, are subservient to and within the scope of the infinite and eternal law of causation. So we're not talking about, you throw a rock into a pond, of course, it's going to make a splash. It's going to have ripples. Those ripples are going to continue on for who knows how long, right? You push something, it moves forward. You push something on a string, it moves forward and comes back. I mean, simple things. Visible, invisible. We're talking spirituality too here. And we're also talking behaviors. We're talking thoughts. We're talking intention. That was the word I was looking for. Thank you for waiting around me. And those are big things. And they all realize these are all within the scope of infinite and eternal law of causation. So the way we think, there's a reason for it. Why we act the way we do, there's a reason for it. The why we have the character we do or the reputation we do, there is a reason for it. Those are all effects from causes. Right? So let's keep that in mind. That things don't just magically appear out of nowhere. Perfect justice upholds the universe. That is a statement. It's not a question. It's not open to interpretation. It is true. Perfect justice upholds the universe. Perfect justice regulates human life and conduct. I do believe this. I do. There's a lot that of, I'm sure, specific arguments people could make, but in general, I believe there is perfect justice. Right? What I myself put into this world, I will get back out of. Right? And but let's be clear here. I can only look at myself. We like to look at other people and say, why do they? You don't know what's going on truly with them. You really don't. You don't know the timeline things might take. You just have no true context and understanding of another person's situations. Honestly, sometimes you can make some observations and from your own personal experience can come to some conclusions about things, right? But for the most part, we can't look at other people. We have to look at this for ourselves. Okay. So, perfect justice upholds the universe. Perfect justice regulates human life and conduct. All the varying conditions of life as they obtain in the world today are the results of this law reacting on human conduct. So, I believe this to be true, and I'm glad we're talking about it. So, where we are today, culturally, socially, in our communities, in our personal lives, are the results of this law reacting on human conduct. So, you are right where you are because of the things you've done, the choices you've made. And that's not always the easiest thing to hear, but we are accountable for all of it. That was one of the biggest things I had to do in my sobriety was understand that I was right where I was, or I am right where I am because of me, right? I am right where I am because of me in all ways, all conditions, complete accountability. There's a lot of power in that. A lot of people get intimidated by that, though. A lot of people become defensive to that thought process and that understanding because they think they have justification for things. They think they could explain their way out of things. Unfair things were done to them during this world, and there's perspectives that take on all of this. I know this world isn't a perfect world, but I am accountable for everything that's happened in my life. Now, some things were done to me that were not about me, but what I'm responsible for is my living after them, right? I am responsible for the life I live, period. Man can, and does, choose what causes he shall set in operation, but he cannot change the nature of its effects. You, this is what a lot of people and I think this is a big thing with kids. This is a big was a big thing for me. I always wanted to do something and then, just run away and apologize real quick before the consequences came. Right? That's not how the world works, though. That's not how life works. And we get to choose the actions we put into the world. We get to choose the thoughts we put into the world, the behaviors, but we can't. We are fully accepting of their effects at that point. We have to be. There's no other way to do it. We don't, there's no free reign on this. Man can and does choose what causes he shall set in operation. We choose what we are going to do. We choose the input. We don't get the output. Right? We don't have too much we don't have exemption from the output of that. But he cannot change the nature of its effects. He can decide what thoughts he shall think and what deeds he shall do, but he has no power over the results of those thoughts and deeds. Right? I could say the same phrase to four different people and it impacts their lives in completely different ways. Right? I don't know what it's going to do. So when I say these things, am I going to say positive things? Am I going to say building up things, encouraging things, uh, things to of a loving nature, of a loving source? Or will I have negativity and harshness, sarcasm and biting in my tone, and condemnation and judgment. And three of them brush it off, but one internalizes it and they just can't get over it. I'm not responsible for how they handle that because we're all supposed to be, but that is the effect. We can't stop the effect that it has, right? What we're responsible for is our actions. But we have to be aware of these things. We have to take some accountability for it. What do we want to put out into the world? Because it will come back to us. That's what the last line of this says. And I believe it. And what deeds he shall do. But he has no power over the results of those thoughts and deeds. These are regulated by the overruling law of causation. Okay. Man has all power to act, but his power ends with the act committed. You can do whatever you want, but after that, it's out of your hands. Be very clear about that. You know, we make a choice for every single action we do or do not do, right? Like, I'm going to take an extreme one here. You choose not to murder somebody on a daily basis. This might sound ridiculous, but the law states that we can't. So, no, that's still you choosing to follow the law and then choosing not to take that action. And that has good repercussions, right? But there's those, obviously, that don't. And then they have to take the repercussions that they're giving as well, right? They suffer the consequences of their own actions and the effects of their own actions. But their power is done after the act is committed. Let's remember that. The result of the act cannot be altered, annulled, or escaped. It is irrevocable. Irrevocable. It is done. You can't take it back. You can't change it. This is the nature of this. Okay? This is the nature of everything that you do. So be careful what you do and understand that. There's no eraser for life. And I know this might sound self-evident. This might sound obvious to many people, and it is in some ways. But a lot of us think we're undoing something with an apology. We're undoing something with regret and remorse. We're not. We're amending something potentially. We're holding ourselves accountable. We can never undo an action. We can never undo a statement. We can never undo a thought, even. So be sure to know where your intentions and your soul is and where you're coming from. It's so important. So important. All right. And then it says the closing thought. Evil thoughts and deeds produce conditions of suffering. I mean, these are straightforward things. Like there's no ends justify the means on this. Evil thoughts and deeds produce conditions of suffering. Good thoughts and deeds determine conditions of blessedness. There's two courses: selfish or selfless. Serving self, serving God. There we have two masters. I'm reading the Way of Peace again, and just read the chapter. The two masters, self and truth. Which do you serve? Evil will be serving self, and serving truth will be good thoughts. Serving truth will be good deeds, and they will always result in conditions of blessedness. Remember this in all of your actions, in your conversation, all your words and your thoughts. Walk with love in your heart. That's a good start. So, well, thank you all for joining me today. This was another good one. Just you are accountable, right? And you can't stop the effect of the things you have. Remember this going forward. So I appreciate y'all jumping on today, and I'll be looking forward to tomorrow's. So until next time, thanks.